get through the strokes?
It really comes down to faith and just finding your own true strength. And that's the title, book came from that. To me, it was sort of play on words with Hercules, where I had a bunch of stunt guys making me look like I had strong muscles. But to me, it was just pushing past, because we're all going to hit that road one day, Larry. You know this as well as as I do.
You were pretty young to have strokes.
I was in my 30s, yeah. I mean, it was a strange event. I had an aneurysm in my left subclavicle, and unfortunately, 3 of the strokes, blood clots worked their way into my brain. But it came down to pushing myself and believing in myself, because that's what the book is all about. Is when we hit that road that we're all going to hit, we don't know how we're going to die. It's there. We're going to hit a road that's going to make us sick. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the stress? How do you deal with there's 12 stages you go through. I railed against God after I got my stroke, trust me. And yet He's the one who warned me, and I didn't heed those warnings. And it was really just a matter of just finding that my own true strength and pushing past all my insecurities and doubts I had going on. And I prayed a lot. There's no question about that.
Well, I'm Donald Hartley, and that was Kevin SORBO, who we have on tonight, and I'm so excited for him to be able to come on tonight. Before we bring him on, I've got Ken Billinger from the great state of Missouri, and we got Judy Alciator from the great state of Texas. And so as we bring on Kevin, I just so thankful for you, Kevin. Kevin, what part of the country are you at? Where are you calling in from?
I'm actually on the East Coast here for a little while in Long Island. It's kind of a long story, but I'm originally from Minnesota, a little town outside of Minneapolis. But I'm sure everybody's pretty aware of the big fires we had out in California here a couple months ago. And we had to evacuate our house, and the fires came down and swept through our neighborhood and took out 3 homes completely burned to the ground, one right next to me. The fires stopped 3 feet from my house. Why? I don't know. I don't know why my house didn't burn down. I don't know why it was saved. The trees were burned all around it. I mean, it's a miracle. And there's a family there that lost everything, and they want to rebuild. So they rented my home for the next 2 years. And we were looking to sell it anyway. My wife and I built a home out here in Long Island about 20 years ago. We used it as just a real estate investment, and we rented it out all the time. And it happened to be empty at this time, so we came out here. We got out here about 2 weeks ago, and we're just renovating the place because it got pretty beat up after 20 years of renters. So we're fixing it up and hoping to sell it by this summertime and be done with it here, and no more New York. And then hopefully in 2 years our home sells in California. No more California. I mean, probably 2 of the worst states for politics and taxes, and we're actually moving it either moving to Texas, to Dallas, Fort Worth, Nashville, or somewhere in Florida. We got both of us have a lot of family in Florida, and all 3 of those states are state tax free. So I like them all.
Well, Kevin, we have somebody here from Texas, Judy Alciator. Judy, would you recommend that Kevin comes down to join you down there in Texas?
Absolutely. Come on down.
What part of Texas are you in?
We're in Beaumont.
Okay, sure. No, I've spent a lot of time there. I actually lived there about almost 2 years after my college days. I lived in Dallas, and then I joined a theater group down there and had a great time, loved it. And then I probably shot at least 6 or 7 movies in the state. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I've shot down in Waxahachie. I've shot in Round Rock, just north of Austin there, and Houston. So I've been in Texas quite a few times, probably another 3 years of my life with all those movies.
Well, it's a great state. We're not native, but we're from New Orleans originally, but we love it here in Texas.
Oh, yeah. I was stationed at Fort Hood for a long time, so I have a lot to do with Texas as well. So, but I think that Ken, would you try to recommend him to come to Missouri, man? Because all these other states, ain't they kind of suburbs of Missouri? Ain't they kind of?
Well, now I got Don. Actually, I got to correct you because I'm just down the street from you. I'm in Kansas. I'm in Overland Park. So I'm a native Kansan. I've been here all my life, and so I can't bring myself to cross the state line for some reason or another. So, so proud to be a Kansan.
Wow. Well, I'm an implant myself. So, and I guess I'm kind of like you there, Kevin, because I mean, I've been all over the world, but as far as now where I'm living at now, I am now in Kansas, and I'm not too far from Overland Park. So, my goodness, that's awesome. Well, Kevin, just to get started here, because I mean, your story is one of, to me, it's victory to me because of the things that you've gone through and how you've come out of it. That's an amazing story about your injury, the aneurysm that hit you, and how you've come back from that. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it was near the end of season 5 on Hercules. I shot that series down in New Zealand for 7 years, and I've been having problems with my left shoulder and arm for a long time. I couldn't figure what was going on. It was always just aching and numb, and my fingers were cold and numb. I couldn't figure out what was happening, but I was blowing it off. We were working 14-hour days. I was lifting heavy 2 hours a day. I mean, I was a stud back then. I was buffed up, you know. I was doing most of my own stunts, you know, because my ego said that I could, and you know, I'm coming from my jock area. I played football and basketball all through school, and you know, it was just, for me, it was just a lot of fun. So I just kind of blew it off, and I came back to do some publicity on a movie. I had a big movie coming up, my first big budget movie for Universal Studios called Kull the Conqueror, and Kull was the prequel to Conan the Barbarian. Kull was Conan's father in the books and in the comic books. So I went to see my doctor finally because my arm was killing me. He found a lump up there, and he said I need to do a biopsy on it, so it kind of freaked me out. And he didn't want to tell me at the time, but he thought maybe I had cancer. But I went to see my chiropractor, and in 8 years he's never cracked my neck because I don't like my neck cracked. Well, I heard a voice warn me twice not to crack my neck, not to let him do it. And I thought, that's so odd, he's never cracked. Why am I hearing his voice? Well, while I'm arguing with the voice, he cracks my neck. And what happened was the aneurysm was so close to the artery feeding into the brain that the crack from the left to the right forced 3 of the clots into my brain, and the aneurysm completely opened up and sent hundreds of clots into my arm and completely stuffed off the blood flow and oxygen flow to my arm. And they rushed me to the hospital, and I spent the next 3 years trying to fight back and recover. And the first 2 years, I got to tell you, weren't a lot of fun. But you know, my faith in God, my wife, who's about as tough as they can get. She's a Pittsburgh and a New York gal, and she wouldn't let me feel sorry for myself. And I'm very strong-willed myself, and I still have a 10% loss of vision in both eyes, and it took me a good year to get back some semblance of balance. And then by the end of the second year, I really started accelerating. Most people wouldn't be able to tell anything's wrong with me, but I know, you know, what the strokes did to me. But I'm lucky. I mean, three bullets to the brain like that, you know, shutting off blood supply to the brain, it could have killed me, could have paralyzed me, it could have done a number of things. But I was pretty fortunate to be able to have a recovery that I did.
That
Mr.
recovery
SORBO,
that
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Donald.
Well, I was just going to ask you, through this experience, through this injury, and I'm calling it an injury, did this help you in your faith? Did your faith come as a result of that, or was you pretty strong before that happened?
No, I've always been a Christian. I can't say I've been a perfect Christian, but I've never entered the agnostic nor come near the atheist world. So I've always believed there's something a lot more powerful than you and I out there. I don't believe that anything can be created from nothing. So somebody started this. I don't care what atheists say. I mean, it really comes down to somebody started this, and it wasn't any of us. So it's always been there, and certainly it tested me, and certainly I had my battles. But you know, it's. I think the power of prayer is an amazingly powerful thing. People always expect the answer to be yes. It's not always going to be yes, but it was a long recovery, but it was a road that opened up a whole different slew of doors to me. You know, when one door shut, I had a lot more open up. And I do a lot of speaking events now, and I think that's how you guys found me. You go to kevinsorbo.net, and I do I do at least about 15 speaking events a year that deal with anything from pro-life to motivational speaking to you know, education to whatever it may be. And we have so many problems within our own country that I think we got to start paying attention a little bit more what's happening here in America instead of worrying about what's happening overseas.
Yes.
Go ahead, Judy.
Yes, I just wanted to make a statement and then ask you a question. The statement was, my son also suffered a stroke 3 years ago, and he's been struggling too to come back. He was left sort of paralyzed on the left side, so I can empathize with what you went through because of what happened to our son. And my question is this. I know you're a very strong pro-lifer, but I think maybe our listeners would like to know, have you ever been on the other side? Were you ever pro-choice? And if so, what made you change?
I was really never pro-choice. I never quite understood it. I always thought, this is so odd. I mean, obviously I got more educated about it over the last 20 years. But I also thought it was so interesting that people would use it as a birth control method or something. I mean, when you find out that there's actually another body inside that body, to sit there and say it's my body, my choice, I find it interesting because that's not your body in there. It's got a different brain. It's got probably a different blood type. It could be a boy and not a girl. So that's certainly different than the female carrying the baby. And then I learned in later years, of course, there's a heartbeat at 22 days. Well, if it's a heartbeat at 22 days and it's not a life, then what is it? What is it people want to call it? I mean, exactly. I love to call it a fetus. A fetus or an offspring, that's a baby, So,
right.
We got to the point now that the governor here in New York says, right at full term, and we got a couple other states, Rhode Island, and I think, what else is involved? Vermont, maybe, and Virginia, all saying that, well, you can have the baby born and kill it then. That's pretty much what that Gosnell doctor was doing as well. So
yeah.
when does it get to the point? I mean, the baby's 2 years old now, and there's a little toddler, and he cries too much, so you go, honey, let's get rid of this one. Take the shovel outside. Where does it end? I mean, they have more compassion for puppies and kitties and trees and sea turtle eggs than they have for human life.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
It's crazy.
It's so true.
That is true. What do you think about that, Ken?
Well, I said something before we actually started the broadcast, and I just wanted to mention it now that we're on to just my appreciation to Kevin for his commitment. I know that you're really going against the grain in the film world and Hollywood, and just the liberal stance that people take and just the craziness that's going on. But you're standing firm, and I love that. I love your passion for your faith. I love your passion for life. And it's just one of those things that you look at what's going on in New York, you look at what's going on, in Virginia, and just to watch some of this, and it's like, how did we get here? I can't figure it out. And so for people in Hollywood like you that stand strong, and we need more. I wish there were more. I know there are some. But just very appreciative of that. And the only other quick thing I wanted to say is I told Don I would come on if I didn't have to arm wrestle you. So that was my only other stipulation to be on tonight.
I was never that tough.
I don't know.
But it is amazing. But here it is. It's decades and decades now of this brainwashing, and through the mainstream media, and why they have this love affair with this murdering of human life is amazing. It's their culture of death, and they desensitize people to it, and they've made it normal. It's not normal. It's like walking to a grocery store. I mean, a supermarket or going into a restaurant and saying, "I'm on a double cheeseburger, an abortion, a large order of fries, and a Coke, please." I mean, they've made it so simple and so easy and so. You see how angry they get at these marches, and it's my body. I can do what I mean. It's my God. And then these are the same people that say building a wall is immoral. Having a wall across to stop illegal aliens from coming in the country is wrong and immoral. But killing a baby they're okay with. I mean, talk about the hypocrisy and the dichotomy of this insanity of the way they think. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Speaking about that wall, just check this out. And the man God chose was neither a politician or a priest. Instead, God chose a builder whose name was Nehemiah, And the first step of rebuilding the nation was the building of a great wall. God instructed Nehemiah to build a wall around Jerusalem to protect its citizens from enemy attack. Wow. I just can't help but think about
that. Every one of these people in Washington, D.C., and every one of these big A-list actors, they have walls around their house. They have security. They have armed guards. I mean, if they feel that way, if anybody who says we should have open borders should never lock their car doors, should never lock their apartments, condos, homes that they live in. They should have things wide open. Why did they lock their cars? Why did they lock their homes? We all know the reason why. But yet they want America, as this large home, to have all their borders open. I want people to come here, but come here legally. My grandparents came here legally from Norway.
Yes. My grandparents came here legally from Sicily. So I'm with you 100%. You are really echoing everything that we conservatives, we Republicans are always saying. The hypocrisy, the insanity, the illogic of what they say, it just boggles the mind. It really does.
Well, Kevin,
you said something. They don't deal with logic. They deal with emotion. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But one of the things you said has struck me, too, because I was listening the other day to one of the morning shows, and they were talking about the fact that kids in school have to get a parent's permission to get an aspirin. But many of these, many places don't require a parent's permission to have an abortion. And I'm thinking, how messed up is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't so sad, I would laugh louder. It's just
it's speaking about laughing, I have to tell you, there's one thing I do disagree with you about you being able to wrestle and all this stuff. I saw you personally take on Cupid, and I think you could take him. I really do. That was a great show that you had with Hercules, and what that did for you as far as, that was a great series. But I think what you're doing now, I think you got hit by a better Cupid now. You got hit by a spiritual force which is far greater than Cupid. I think he got you. I think the Holy Spirit got you, man. I really do.
Well, it's interesting. It was it's already 9 years ago where I was approached by Dallas Jenkins, and Dallas is the son of Jerry Jenkins, who wrote the Left Behind novels. And Dallas is a friend, and he said, hey, I got this script. I think it's pretty good. I like your thoughts on it. And I read it, and I said, okay, who's playing Pastor Ben? He goes, I don't know yet. And I said, well, I want to play. He goes, what? You do? And I said, yeah. He goes, but you don't understand. There's no money in this. This is a low budget movie. And I said, this script is awesome, and I want to do this. And I think it's a better movie than the one you brought up earlier before we went on the air here of God's Not Dead. It's the same writers that did God's Not Dead, but this movie is called What If? And I highly recommend it. Other than the movie that I did last year that I directed as well, called Let There Be Light, which people can get streaming on Amazon, or they can go and get it on Walmart DVD. I like What If better than God's Not Dead, and I can say that without Peer Flicks getting too angry, because both of those are their movies and both were written by the same people. So that sort of got the ball rolling for me. Now, Hercules became the most watched TV show in the world. We passed Baywatch. Then I did a series right after that for 5 years called Andromeda, and that was the first series ever written by Gene Roddenberry after Star Trek finished. So I had 12 straight years of doing these 2 TV shows. I get stopped all the time through airports. I travel a lot, at restaurants, wherever it may be. And 80% of the people now tell me, would you please keep making more movies like God's Not Dead, What If, Abel's Field, Let There Be Light. Please make. It's not Hercules or Andromeda. It's 80% people saying, please make more of these family-friendly movies. And I think that's just amazing.
Yes. I think America is hungry for such movies.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. And they to me, you're trying to save a generation, as I was saying earlier, because so many people, right now, St. Pope John Paul II, back in the 1980s, was calling for the springtime of evangelization, because it's important that we get out there and, the world is dying. There's so many people in the world that has gone so far to the left. So we who have Christ in our hearts, that has to shine. That has to show not us, but He in us, and that's what all of this is really about. And I love the way that you're using the arts. The arts has always been a part of Christianity as far as expression, and to put our movies, to make some modern movies. I just think that the last one that you came out with about the little boy that died, and as a father who loves his son.
That's Let There Be Light. Yeah.
Yes, I've got that movie, by the way. I do have it. I saw it and bought it, of course.
Thank you.
But on Wednesdays we talk about miracles every Wednesday. We focus on miracles that the Lord has given us, as well as on Sundays. And if people understood how much God is involved, He is involved, and the movies that you're coming out with are pointing to that. And I think that's why there's a great need for it. Yeah. Do you have anything that you're kind of putting together that you're working on, anything coming up in the near future?
Well, I'll get to that in a second, but politics is downstream of culture. And who runs the culture? Hollywood does. And look at the messages they put out. Look at all the violence and sexual. I mean, look, I'm not a prude by any means. I mean, I like a good action movies like anybody else. But the reality is the messages they put out and everything on TV and everything, because the networks are now getting more and more brazen like cable is. They're seeing cable starting to really dominate in terms of viewership. So they're getting very, very sexual. They're getting very, very violent with everything. And, they have an agenda to push. And why they have to push such a negative agenda is amazing to me. I got a call from Netflix after Let There Be Light came out. And I had a meeting with them. And Netflix is the most powerful thing out there right now. They make so much money. They've got a TV series right now that they're shooting for $13 million an episode for television.
Wow.
I mean, they have... And they said, look, we're not really paying attention to the faith crowd out there, and we really like to do something. I pitched them a couple of wonderful ideas, and they weren't in your face, like you better believe in God, you're going to hell thing. It was more in the lines of something like Blindside, which was a faith-based show, but people went and saw that movie. It was agnostics, atheists, it was Christians, it was everybody, because the movie appealed to everybody. And that's what I want to do. I want to sneak up on these people. I look at agnostics as independent voters. I'm trying to get them not to become liberals. I'm trying to make them become smarter. But I actually have 5 movies in the can. I got 5 movies coming out this year. So I'm still very busy. I've shot over 60 movies in the last 12 years. And one of my directed, which is the most recent one, that's in post-production right now. But the first one to come out is 4th of July week. It's called One Nation Under God, and it's about bringing that phrase back in our Pledge of Allegiance in our schools.
Oh.
So I've got a lot of good movies.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
That's going to be a good one. The one I just finished directing is called Miracle in East Texas. It's based on a true story set in 1930. About 2 con men played by myself and John Ratzenberger, but people remember John from, of course, Cheers. He played Cliff, the postman.
Yeah.
And it's a true story about these 2 guys that would con widows through Oklahoma and Texas out of their money on fake oil wells while they strike oil in East Texas. And at the time, it was the largest oil find in the history of the world. And the movie brings in the beginning of Lamar Hunt. That's how Lamar Hunt became so wealthy. So it's a comedy, but it's a faith element to it. It's a wonderful movie. It's also got Lou Gossett Jr. in it. It's got Tyler Mane for the younger kids who know him from all the X-Men movies. He's one of the crazy creatures, the Beast or something on X-Men. And my wife did a great job in it, and we had a great local cast that we shot as well. It's I'm looking forward to it. The movie's looking really good.
Oh, that sounds excellent. Oh, man, I'm looking forward to those coming out, too. I'm just like a kid in a candy store when it comes to this, because it's just, to me, I love entertainment as well, but I love it also that has a good, wholesome message and something that you can get your heart and soul into. And that's what I like about it, whether it's in the music, that too. I think there's a lot of good Christian bands out there today that, back 30 years ago, it was hard to find anything like that. But today there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things. And that's the kind of thing here with Deeper Truth we want to try to lift up. We want to try to lift up those that are doing these good things. And Kevin, what an inspiration you are. I mean, you said you only had about a half an hour, but I tell you what, that's almost like whew, it goes by so fast. But I do got to run. We got kind of things are kind of crazy right now with this move here and everything. We just got so much going on, and I've got so much work doing with my movie, and I'm prepping. I'm getting ready to go to Israel. I've got a documentary I've been doing for the last 2 years that I produced that I'm also on camera and interviewer and the narrator. It's a gentleman by the name of John Lennox. If you don't know who he is, please go check him out. John Lennox is one of our greatest debaters of all time. He's an Oxford mathematician. We're heading to Israel for 10 days here, and then from there I got to go up to Oxford for a week, and then we'll be done. And that documentary will be coming out sometime next year. But I'm staying busy, and I got 2 other movies lined up, and one I'm going to be directing. It's a post-Civil War movie with a very strong faith element to it. Mm. Awesome. Man, and I tell you what, the Civil War, you just about getting everything in there. And that's, I mean, that's.
I don't sit around too much. I don't like sitting around. So one thing my dad did, he passed 6 years ago, but my dad was my best friend. He was the best man at my wedding. We were definitely. He thought he was a Democrat growing up in Minnesota with Walter Mondale and Hubert Humphrey. But trust me, every time I talked to him about 10 elements, 10 subjects, 8 of those 10 things, I said, Dad, that makes you a conservative, whether you want to believe it or not. But he stuck his Norwegian Iowa farm, feet deep in the earth, and just he went to heaven thinking he was a Democrat. But that's okay.
Wow, that's something else. Well, hey, Ken, do you got one last thing that you'd like to ask Kevin before he rock and rolls? By the way, Kevin, I'm standing on the rock, and my name is on the roll, so yes, I do rock and roll. So, but anyway, Ken?
Well, yeah, just real quick, Kevin, I know you got to run, but I was just curious your thoughts if you saw the movie Gosnell and just your take from that if you did see it.
I didn't see it, and I know as a Christian I should forgive and move on and see the movie. I was the one who actually helped them raise the money for that movie. I did their fundraiser, and when they came to shoot it, and part of it was I was supposed to have the role that they gave to Dean Cain. Dean Cain's a good buddy of mine, so I was a little bit hurt. I said, I helped you raise the $3 million off of my name, and then you don't put me in the movie. So I was a little bummed out about it. So I got to get past this little childish phase here and go see the movie.
I could totally understand. I guess I wasn't even aware of that, but I was just curious, just because I know your stand on life and so that was just curious about that.
Well, I know of the movie well. I know the script very well, so I know everything about it. There's another one coming out called Roe v. Wade that I was supposed to be in, but I was directing my latest movie, Miracle in East Texas, at the time, and I'm really bummed I couldn't do that because I was going to be able to be one of the Supreme Court justices at that time, playing opposite of John Voight, who's a dear friend. So I was so bummed I couldn't get that done. But I'll see the movie. Like I said, and I hold nothing against Dean. Dean's a good buddy of mine. I kind of had a problem with the producers of that, but just being honest about it, and I'm being honest about my own childish behavior here. So I've got to go see it. I know it's been a great message.
Well, thanks for your honesty. Yeah. When you mentioned John Boyd, another Hollywood conservative, which is great to have too. So
he's a good man.
Well, Judy, do you have one last thing that you'd like to say for Kevin?
Just briefly, I would like to share one of my pro-life poems, if that's okay. It's one of the first ones that I wrote, and I called it Rose Petals. They pull the petals from the rose with hearts of steel and stone, not caring how the flower grows, for it is not their own. One by one, with practiced pride, they crush the flower's head, regarding not the life inside the mother's flower bed. Now the flower fades and dies in silent agony. Only God will hear the cries of spirits soon to be. Fragile flowers of our hearts, to heaven you are bound. In memory as your souls depart, rose petals on the ground.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. I tell you what, Kevin, you get to know deeper truth. You're going to get to know a lot of Judy, because these poems come in like poems from heaven, literally. Before you go, let's say a little prayer for Kevin, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Lord Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for Kevin coming on Deeper Truth tonight. We thank you for everybody that's out there listening, that the Holy Spirit touches their hearts. And we just ask of you, Lord, to be with Kevin in all these different projects that he's involved in, that they have and work wondrous things for you, Lord. Keep him and his family in the bosom of your love and grace. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father,
Amen.
the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Spirit.
Kevin, thank
Amen.
you so much for coming on. And
Thank you very
we're going
much.
to kind of hang
I
on.
appreciate it.
We're going to hang on here for just a few moments and just kind of do an after-action review. That's what we say in the Army. So,
All right. Take
God
care.
bless.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much for
Take
your
care.
time.
Great, Kevin. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good week.
You too.
Okay. God bless. I'll tell you what, guys, that was fantastic.
That was wonderful. He's terrific.
That was action-packed. Yes.
Yeah.
He's terrific,
I-
and he is so down to earth. He's just an amazing individual.
Yeah, just
yeah.
I loved his honesty. I had no idea on the Gosnell movie. I probably would not have asked that question had I known, but it's great that he's he's right up front about it. He's friends with Dean Cain, and that's awesome. It's just we need more people like him in Hollywood. I wish there were more.
Oh,
Unfortunately, those numbers are pretty slim.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of courage to take the stand that he takes, considering how he makes his career. But God is definitely with him, because he's thriving. The man is thriving, and all of those people on the other side, they're not stopping him, because he's got God on his side.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
really,
that's true. Go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just going to say, and really the same thing with Dean Cain. I know that if you saw any of the stuff when Gosnell came out, I think it was Tom Arnold, who I've never been a fan of, just because I've never been able to figure the guy out. But I'm talking about an upside down situation. But he was hammering Dean Cain because he took the role in that movie, and I for the life of me, I don't understand. It's almost like, if you don't believe the way we believe, then you're just idiots, and we're gonna get out and we're gonna yell and scream. And that was the thing that Kevin talked about early on, was people yelling and screaming. We think about we just had the March for Life in D.C., and to see what some of our young people had to be exposed to, and I think that's probably one of the bigger fears for parents, is for their kids to see that. And some say no. You know what? They need to see it. They need to see what's going on the other side. And it's really beyond belief. The anger. It's just not. If something doesn't go their way, it's just total and complete anger. You look how long Trump's been in office, and you think that the dust would settle a little bit, but we still have people that are just. They're consumed by the fact that they don't have a Democratic president, and I don't understand it. I wasn't happy. I'll be the first to admit I wasn't happy when Barack Obama was in office at all. But I didn't. It's like what was I going to do about it? You deal with it. You deal with it like a grown up, not like a crying baby who's pounding on the floor because he can't get his way. And so. That's what drives me crazy about the liberals that are just out there getting upset and just doing crazy things. It's like, are you a child or an adult? And so,
I have an opinion about some of that. Some of it might be genuine, but I think a lot of it is just for show.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah. Snowflakes. That's what they're snowflakes. Are either one of you going to be watching the State of the Union tomorrow night?
Yeah.
I plan to if I. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying I plan to, if my schedule, I've got a couple things going, so if I can catch it, I probably will try to do that. I know my wife will be watching.
Well, now
Do you
have
know
her
what time?
record it for you.
Do you know what time,
yeah.
Donald?
I think it's 7:00 Eastern,
Okay.
or I mean Central. I think
Okay.
it's 7:00. I'll have to look at that myself. It's going to be on Fox. I know that for sure. But yeah, I'm going to be watching it myself. So I was just kind of wondering about that. I love the way that Kevin brought up about the abortion. He spoke about the wall. About faith. I had to get him about the Cupid thing. I saw him. I saw that today. Or I was kind of watching some of that, and I saw him take on that Cupid. I had it with that.
Well,
funny.
I have to say something in regards to his Hercules days. When he mentioned that he was a stud, I used to watch Hercules, and I got to tell you, I guarantee you he was a stud.
Well, be careful what you're saying there, Judy, because the reason I say that is because I had a friend of mine that had one of those near-death experiences, and he gets up there to heaven. Well, he's up there to St. Peter's, and he's begging, let me go back, please. I want to be a stud. That is the one thing I was never able to be when I was alive and everything. And he was begging, please let me be a stud at least once. And the Lord thought about it, and he says, okay, let him go back down there. So he sends him down to Atlanta, where he became a stud, a 2x4 on a wall. So that's what happened.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say a horse. I thought maybe you were going to say it was a horse. So.
That's funny, but anyway, that's
Donald, I have to ask you, how on earth did you get Kevin Sorbo to come on the show? I mean, that's just amazing. How did you manage that?
Well, the Lord did it. That's all I can say is because I saw him on Fox News. Initially, I saw him on Fox News, and he was talking about abortion, from our perspective, from the Catholic Christian perspective. And I went on the internet, and I just sent him a notice, hey, would you like to come on Deeper Truth? And, 2 days later, I find that he responded to my inquiry, because I gave him my information. Wow. And we set it up for today, and this was last week. This was amazing.
That is just amazing.
Yeah, he was very quick.
Yeah.
And
see, to me, that shows a generosity of spirit, because obviously he's an extremely busy individual, and yet he was willing to share of his time with us, people that he had probably never heard of. I think I'm very, very grateful that he came on. I hope maybe sometime in the future we can get him on again.
Oh, we will. I've got his number. We got him, so we're.
He was very easy
awesome
to talk with. Just a wonderful guy.
Initially, down to earth. I asked him. He asked me about what was the plan. And I said, well, we got an hour planned if that'd be all right with you. And he goes, oh, wait a second, how about a half hour? I was just happy to I was just thankful that he came on, and I thought that went so well. But I figured, hey, we're doing what we're doing now, so I figured, hey, this is all good. I got Ken Billinger. Ken Billinger is the newest member of Deeper Truth.
Yeah.
And we're thankful because he's
Don, I just thought of something too. Your buddy that was turned into a 2x4 basically at his request. You realize I know he didn't like his life because you asked him about it. He said I'm bored. So. That's my bad humor. Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
Oh, that was good. That was good. That's like one of my friends that he died of cigarette smoking, and I was really shaken by that. And somebody asked me how he died, and I said, well, he was hit by a cigarette truck. And so, you know, that's what happens, you know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a line from the old, what was the movie, Mrs. Doubtfire, when said it was the drink that killed him, and they said, oh, he drank. She got, no, he got hit by a Guinness truck. I just thought that, so it's kind of the same line there.
Same kind of thing, same kind of line.
Yeah.
But you know, in fact, this is one thing I talked with him, because you know, Laura Ingraham is a well-known. She had a radio show. She has her TV show. She comes right on after Sean Hannity, which appears in one of the movies with Kevin Sorbo, which I thought was interesting. We didn't really have enough time to get into that, but when you think about it, Kevin Sorbo and all the different people. But anyway, Laura Ingraham, she did away with her radio show, and she's doing the podcast like what we're doing here. And so I thought that was fascinating, interesting. I think, didn't I talk to you about that? I think, Ken. I don't know.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did mention that, which I didn't realize that either. So
I'm still waiting for us to get President Trump on the show.
He did. He called in on the show, and I didn't answer it because I was off doing. I mean, I was so far, and a lot of people come on, and I thought I recognized the number, and people come on, and they just want to listen. There was a guy that I went in tonight who I went in there he was just wanting to listen to the show. And so, okay, I didn't bring him on because, I mean, you know, that he was just calling on. And so, you know, President Trump sat for 17 minutes waiting for me to answer his phone. And he jokingly, seriously, he joked with me later on. He says, man, you just ignored your president for 17 minutes. And I thought, oh, man. He was laughing about it. But, because
you know, one of the things I was going to mention too, that you know, when you talked about Kevin coming on, I was kind of looking at a little bit of his background, kind of you know, learn a little more about him, because I don't watch a ton of TV, and I mean, I knew of him, and I knew that Hercules, when you talked about that, but I didn't know a lot of his background. I know his wife's an actress as well. But one of the interesting thing was talking about where another place he showed up was, you know, Hollywood actors who may surprise you, who are conservative. You know, I mean, he was in there, you know, or had a strong faith life. I think that might have been it. You know, so I was kind of looking at that. He was one listed. Kevin James, of course, you know, from the TV show. Why can't I think of the show now? He was in Paul Blart Mall Cop, but he was also in I'm just drawing a blank, with Leah Remini, the show with Leah Remini, and also his dad-in-law was Arthur Spooner, and I'm drawing a blank here now. I don't know why. And I watched the show. It's now in reruns. Kevin James, though, is Catholic. I didn't realize that either, and a pretty strong Catholic from what I understand. But King of Queens, that's the show I was trying to think of. So I don't know if you ever saw that, but yeah. And so Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead. But it was interesting to see some of the different actors who were on the conservative side of things. I knew John Voight was too, and obviously Dean Cain, and then the one of the other actresses that comes to mind, I think she's also Catholic. Leah Remini is Catholic, kind of a returning Catholic, but she plays the wife of Ray Romano on Everybody Loves Raymond. Deb, but I can't think of what her acting name is. I always have to think for a minute. But anyway, it's just neat to see more and more. You know, I'd love to see more and more Hollywood people see that conservative side of things.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say that another pro-life actress that I've read about is I think her name is Patricia Heaton.
Oh, there we go.
H-E-A-T-O-N?
That's who I was just talking about. She played Deborah Barone. That's her. Yeah, I couldn't think of her name, but you're right, Patricia Heaton. That's who it is. Yep.
Well, that's cool.
Maybe
well,
you could extend an invitation to her, Donald.
I'm going to try. I'm looking up. I was looking up names last night, in fact. So and I'd like to get Kevin on. As far as I'm concerned, Kevin is he's a part of Deeper Truth now. That's awesome. But when it comes right down to it, I like what they're doing with these new movies. Because usually when you think of Catholic movies, you think of the old, back in the 50s, 60s, the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, which is excellent, as well as Ben-Hur.
Yes, and, I still watch it.
I love those shows. They're timeless classics.
Them. That's right.
There's Christmas. There's some great Christmas movies, but what they're doing with a lot of these new movies is they're very highly professional. They're very well done. They're not like B-rated movies. They have good actors, good plots, good storylines, and they're modern. They're modern type movies. So I'm glad to see more of that taking place, and I'd like to see Catholics get more and more involved in that too. I mean, definitely, that would be. Oh man, some of the miracles that we talked about.
Yeah. Don, I've got a challenge for you. How about you can see if you can get Jim Caviezel on.
Yeah. Yes, he is
wonderful.
the man. Yeah, him and I've always been thinking about him, and it'd be great to get him and who was his producer? Who was the producer of that movie? Jesus.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Well, Mel Gibson. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to get both of them on here. Oh man, that would be awesome too. And I would love to see with Mel Gibson, with his talent of putting together things. Man, could you imagine if these guys were to get together and put together some of these scenes that we depict whenever we're doing these Eucharistic miracles, some of these scenes? Oh, man, they would be fantastic if you get somebody to do some of these ones with Mary, the Journey with Mary on Sunday. That would be fantastic if we were able to get somebody with that caliber.
If you sort of let people know that Kevin Sorbo was on the show, they might consider it. They can think of it as a way to get their message across too.
Well, this is a great way.
Well, one of the other things, I know that, in fact, one of the things, Don, you talked about Mel Gibson, I think that he is working on another movie that's a Bible-based movie, and I'm trying to recall exactly. I want to say it might have to do with, unless it is the resurrection, it may even be the resurrection, but somebody was talking about that just the other day, that he was working on another movie, and I don't know if Jim Caviezel will be part of that or what, but and I want to say it's resurrection. I may be wrong on that, but I know he's working on something that's kind of a follow-up to the Passion of the Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's supposed to be the early church, the book of Acts. I think I've heard that from the resurrection on. That's what I understood. I heard something about it, but nothing in great detail. But, that would be great. It would be awesome with him being able to do that. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for good quality movies. And we need them because, with what our society is being polluted with all kinds of, and Kevin kind of touched upon that with what's going on, out there in Hollywood. And Hollywood... The message, in fact, I don't even really watch a lot of sitcoms anymore. I like to watch the old reruns, Bonanza,
Yeah,
Oh,
there's no Dick Van Dyke or Mary Tyler Moore or.
Right. I agree. I'm the same way. If I'm watching shows, it's usually Leave It to Beaver, Andy Griffith. And think about this. This is where we've come in the last 60 years, and it's really sad because if you think about the day of Dick Van Dyke, it was Dick and Laura Petrie, and they had their son Richie. And anytime they had a bedroom scene, there were twin beds in there. And this is a story I heard back then. The producers of those shows absolutely said the only way. I mean, they were adamant about it. The only way we're going to show a bedroom scene is with twin beds, and showing them, sitting up in the separate beds. And this was producers who were adamant about it. And you look at where we've gone from there, and it's just. I think Kevin made a good point. What's happening now is I think networks are trying to compete with cable, and so they're getting raunchier and allowing more and more just ridiculous. I mean, the other night we were flipping through and I heard some words and I went, well, that's not HBO, and because we don't have HBO, and it was like, wait a minute, that was a network television, and I'm going, they're using that language on network TV these days, and I'm thinking, when does it end? Where do you draw the line? And it's no holds barred now. So
no holds barred. Hey, Ken, I was just thinking of something here. Since you kind of a man in the middle there, why is it possible that you might be able to hook us up where we could get the Archbishop to come on here sometime whenever he's available?
I would.
And
I don't want to speak too fast, but I can certainly find out about that and see if we can, we can get. That would be great. It would be great to do that. One thing I was going to tell you, speaking of the Archbishop, definitely, I think we could probably also get the Bishop of the Salina Diocese, Bishop Vinke. I know him pretty well. That I think we could probably get him on the air, but I can certainly find out about the Archbishop. And I was just going to encourage people too, if you haven't listened to, he did the opening mass for the pro-life march in D.C. Last week, or I guess it was the week before now, and it was a huge mass. I mean, beautiful. There were over 600, between 600 and 700 priests, bishops, deacons. In the procession, and it was incredible. So we watched it, but we didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. We had something actually at the Archdiocese that evening. But if you can go on to the Archdiocese website, the Archdiocese of Kansas City in Kansas, there is a video of his homily, and it is just fabulous. It's so good, and he just hits the mark so well. And he's a great guy, such a a very humble guy. But his talk, his outlook with regards to life issues, I mean, he is the right guy for where he's at today, heading that up. And so I want to encourage you to check it out. It's probably about a 23-minute homily, I want to say, and in the Basilica in Washington, D.C., and it's wonderful.
He's a great shepherd. That's the one thing. He's participating with us in our Marian conferences. I'm going to be speaking in Branson on March the 4th, and Nixa as well, March the 5th. It could be the other opposite too. One is going to be in Nixa, and one is going to be in Branson, which would be kind of like a homecoming to me because I went to school there, School of the Ozarks there in Branson, Point Lookout, but right there in Branson. So I would go to Our Lady of the Lake there in Branson when I was in college back in the 70s. And then in July I'll be participating in the conference that's going to be happening in Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm looking forward to that. And he's going to be saying Mass at that. So,
great. Okay. And that's in July, isn't it? And I believe that's at St. Teresa Parish in Parkville. Is that correct?
Roger, I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
And so
great parish.
I'm going to be speaking right at the moment. It looks like on the last four things, which will be death, judgment, heaven, and hell, and then also the importance of confession. So I'm looking forward to that, and we enjoy that. So we'll be putting it out on Deeper Truth. But I think that the more we're able to do of these things and get some good interviews, conversion stories, and inspiring stories, I think that we can really this really becomes a very positive thing, and that's what hopefully for the Lord. If we can help
Donald?
one person, goes helping one person. If we do that, that's our goal. If we could help anyone, as many, if we could help 1,000, that would be great. But I'm just saying. But go ahead, Judy.
I was wondering if you noticed a similarity in what Kevin Sorbo was saying about the fire stopping, before it got to his property, and the Marion story of in Champion, Wisconsin, where the flames just went everywhere except that area. It just the similarity
5 acres
of the stories astounded me.
Yeah. In fact, I'll share that story with him. I'll send him that article. I'll send him that so he can listen to that one as well. But that is something. God's still working miracles. He's still a miracle worker.
Right. That's right.
So
very interesting you talk about. I was just thinking about one of the things that people talk about. We just, we don't see miracles, or we don't experience the miracles. When Jesus was walking the earth, people saw miracles all the time. And I said, wait a minute. I said, the reality is those miracles are happening all the time here too. So many times I think we get so caught up in our own little world, we don't spend that time in prayer. We don't spend that time doing just quiet time with and building that relationship with God. And because when we do that, that's when we see the miracles. We experience those things. We see things in our lives each and every day that when we're not in the zone, if you will, and that's probably not the right way to put it, but the reality is when we have that prayer life, when we have that time we spend with the Lord and develop that relationship, we're going to see more of these things happen, and we're going to experience and go, that truly is a miracle. And those miracles, like you said, are continuing to happen each and every day. We just have to be, if we're in tune to them, we'll see them happen and know they happen.
Well, if they come on Deeper Truth on Wednesday and Sundays, we definitely cover a lot of them. And they are exciting. It's a great joy to be. It is. And so I like to think that these miracles, the Lord touches people's hearts. I don't know why they don't share these more at Mass, or at least within the parish structure, having some of these. It wouldn't be that hard, but boy, it could be life-saving for some, especially at a time when many Catholics have lost faith or little faith in the Eucharist. That's something that we need to work on, and the Lord gives us so much ammunition. He gives us so many things that we can share that can really make a change in a person's life if a person's searching. And I think a lot of people are searching. That's why they go all over the place. It's like get you a dartboard and, let me go here and check that place out, or let me go there, let me check that place out. Where if they stayed at home and they knew what home is, they would never want to leave in the first place. If you believe in the Eucharist, you ain't going to want to leave. That's sure.
Exactly. And just like I said last week, if people, and I didn't know my faith, so that's why I was waning so much. But if people truly know their faith, I truly believe they would never leave it. I hear that more and more from Catholics who have returned to the faith, reverts, or people who have. They said, if I would have known my faith to begin with, this would have never happened. So, and it's a beautiful faith that we continually can learn about each and every day until it's our time. So.
That's right.
Amen. Well, I think we're about at our hour, so I want to say thank you both for coming on, because I think that was enriching. It really was. Just to be able to talk with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a grace for us as well. I enjoyed it immensely, and so thank you Ken and Judy for coming on and being a part of it. And
thanks for inviting me. I enjoyed talking to Kevin as well.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully that your friends at work will be looking into this and saying, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yes, it sure is.
Exactly.
Well, I think the Lord, there's nothing wrong with thinking that the Lord is cool, in the right way. The Lord is,
right.
I mean, he's
absolutely.
He's it.
He's like the coolest, actually.
Exactly. Exactly. It says in Luke chapter 15, beginning with verse 3, that he would leave the 99 to go after the one that's gone astray. What happens when he finds that one that's gone astray? There's a huge party going on in heaven. So here at Deep for Truth, we want to keep that party going, man. That's our goal, is to keep that party going.
That's right. Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's what St. Peter called that new wine. When they thought that you were all drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning, He said, no, that's not new wine. Well, God bless you guys. This has been a total blessing. And Kevin, he'll be listening to the show, I'm sure. He's got access to it. I sent it to him, so he'll be listening to this, and I'm sure he'll be edified with what all we're saying about it. I mean, it's great. It's we want to lift up those who are doing and trying to live a life of grace and encouraging others to do the same. That's what our Lord wants. That's exactly what this is all about. And apologize. I love what St. Peter said. And St. Peter says this in 1 Peter chapter 5, beginning with verse 15. He says this. No, it's actually chapter 3. What am I saying? He says, always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope. But do it with gentleness. See, that's the one I have to watch out for. Do that with gentleness and reverence, keeping your conscience clear, so that when you are maligned, those who defame your good conduct in Christ may themselves be put to shame. For it is better to suffer for doing good, if that be the will of God, than for doing evil. Now, that's on the one side of the house. Now, the other side kind of fits me a little bit too, I guess. I don't know. Depends on, if I catch you there on aisle 25 at Walmart, we'll see. But here's what it says in Jude verse 3. And he says, Beloved, although I was making every effort to write to you about our common salvation, I now feel a need to write to encourage you to contend for the faith. See, so this is a little different. We must contend for the faith.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of depends on the situation. So, you have to look at each situation. So that's what we strive to do. But anyway, right. God bless you both.
God bless you too.
Ken, do you have a last thing that you'd like to say? Put out?
No, just thank you so much for having me on again tonight. It was a pleasure to talk to Kevin and you guys, and just look forward to joining you again sometime.
Oh, always. You're part of Deeper Truth now. And how about you, Judy?
Well, I just want to extend once more a thank you to Kevin SORBO for joining us and sharing his time with us. And he's just a wonderful human being. And I was absolutely floored at how down to earth he is. It was just amazing. He's just a regular person.
Loves the Lord and he's got a lot of great gifts. All right, well, I'm going to end this with a song, and you guys have a good night. God bless you, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. God bless you.